Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless aren't cool no more? I wonder why.
I can't say anymore. I'm probably already in trouble for mentioning it to a, well, we call you normies.
Well, everyone, let's go back down memory lane for just a quick second, all right? Now, a lot of you, I'm sure, remember the fallout that was the beginning of the end of Undisputed when Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe had all of their falling outs and disagreements and disrespectful back and forths on live on the show. And of course, Shannon Sharpe left in a tearful exit. He moved on to bigger and better things, obviously. Skip Bayless did his best attempt to keep the show afloat. That, of course, was unsuccessful. And a few weeks ago, as you already know, the new unveiling of Fox's new sports lineup was unveiled. And, well, Undisputed wasn't on it, of course. So he's still doing his podcast on YouTube, and Shannon Sharpe is doing his own thing, podcast, ESPN, endorsements, what have you, all right? Well, apparently, Stephen A. Smith, behind the scenes, actually talked to Skip Bayless about this, all right? Now, I'm behind the power curve on this, but I wanted to make you aware of it just in case you wasn't tracking, all right? As you can see here from Awful Announcing, Stephen A. Smith says relationship with Skip Bayless isn't what it used to be. Quote, "We do not speak much anymore."
Target acquired.
And
Enemy spotted.
Stephen A. Smith revealed that he reached out to Skip Bayless to express his disapproval of his treatment of Shannon Sharpe. He received no response.
Enemy spotted.
Well, I wonder what Stephen A. Smith has to say about that. So let's get into the article and let him explain what he tried to convey to Skip Bayless, but of course, he got no response. Let's go. You don't have to tell Stephen A. Smith twice. He knows that Skip Bayless is an acquired taste. While his former debate partner has since exited his role at FS1's Undisputed and has reportedly started a new one elsewhere with his rapper friend Lil Wayne, which I don't think is going to be very successful, but it could be wrong, looks fondly on his time with Bayless. But in speaking with Chris Carter as the first guest on the former NFL wide receivers Fully Loaded podcast, Smith says the relationship is not what it used to be, all right? So let's let him explain. Of course, this is the Fully Loaded podcast. I will leave a link to this article in the description box so that you can watch this episode at your leisure, right? And it hasn't been the same for a while. Smith called Bayless to tell him he was flagrantly wrong about Shannon Sharpe. He never heard back. Quote, "We've only spoken once over the last year, a year and a half or so," he tells Carter and his co-host Sean Meek, I can't really pronounce that, sorry. "We don't speak much anymore. He got upset over something he thought I said to JJ Redick.
Put some respect on my name.
And he went on his podcast and attacked me for about 45 minutes. And then I flew to California and approached him face to face, and we resolved that issue." Quote, "I'm never going to speak against him per se, but our relationship admittedly hasn't been the same since that moment. But it doesn't mean I don't love him. It doesn't mean that I wish anything negative upon him, because I don't. He's just going in a different direction, and that's what he chose to do, and it's cool." All right. So apparently, Skip Bayless was a little raw with Stephen A. Smith, no pun intended, about something he, I guess, perceived that he said to JJ Redick, I guess, talking about maybe Skip or something that maybe it has to do with him, right? So what Stephen A. Smith does, he says, you know what, I'm going to approach him face to face. You know, the whole say it to my face thing, you know, shout out to Kamala Harris.
If you got something to say it to my face.
And I guess they hashed it out, seemingly hashed it out face to face, and it was over with. But since then, they haven't spoken, which, in my opinion, you know, to the normie like myself, if we have a problem and then I speak to you about it, we hash it out face to face, and then you never speak to me, you know what I'm going to think? Well, obviously we're not over it, or whatever it was so deep that even though we hashed it out, it has drawn a humongous wedge between us. So much so that I haven't spoken to you. I've only spoken to you once in a year and a half. That's a pretty big rift, if you will. So, I don't know. Back to Sharpe. Quote, to address the elephant in the room, I understand why a lot of people can't stand him, continued Smith. I've told Skip to his face, you don't say what you said about Troy Aikman. You don't call Chris Bosh Spice Bosh. You don't come at Chris Carter like that. He's arguing with you about a football point. So what you disagree? You don't have to do that. Now, Skip Bayless, in his time on Undisputed, and probably even before then while he was on First Take, he has said some very flagrant things about a lot of people. In particular, Troy Aikman, Chris Bosh, Chris Carter, and most recently, Shannon Sharpe. All right? He has come at all these people sideways, and these people basically checked him either in the media or on the show face to face. All right? Quote, and I thought he was wrong about Shannon. I thought what he did to Shannon was flagrantly wrong, and I called him. He never reached back out, so I stopped reaching out. Now, I assume this was after the JJ Redick thing. And then he's tried to speak with him about Shannon Sharpe, and he hasn't heard anything back. So I assume that was the icing on the cake about their current friendship. In December of 2020, Sharpe and Bayless led a debate about Tom Brady last season with Tampa Bay Buccaneers boil over into a personal spat. Most of you have seen this already several times. After Sharpe called Bayless out for his unwillingness to criticize Brady, Bayless punched back by proclaiming that Brady was a better NFL player than Shannon Sharpe, and that Shannon Sharpe was in fact jealous. Now, yeah, that back and forth was, you can tell that was personal. Skip Bayless obviously was hitting below the belt on that one. It was egregious. It was flagrant as hell. And really, there was two other situations before that. There was a Darvin Ham situation. There was something else actually before that. And the Brady thing was the end right there. The beginning of the end had actually already came before that. The Darvin Ham thing was actually not too far from the Brady situation, all right? So you saw that. When Sharpe tried to check Bayless' temper by reminding him that they had a real relationship while Brady is just an athlete they cover, Bayless snapped at Sharpe to put his glasses back on, clearly crossing the line. Yeah. And of course, we got quotes here from Smith and everyone else. Shannon left undisputed. Shannon left undisputed. Stephen A. Smith announced publicly that he wanted Shannon. A few months later, he picked him up, and they've been off to the races after that. Stephen A. Smith has done great at his podcast. He's almost at 1 million subs. Shannon Sharpe has 2 shows on YouTube. They're both past 1 million subs, way past 1 million. He's gone viral several times. He's also a co-host on First Take, which is doing very well. He has speaking engagements, other endorsements and products and things of that nature. And Shannon Sharpe hasn't looked back. So, I mean, yeah. So, you see it. And to end the article, while Smith and Bayless may have drifted apart, their friendship currently on hiatus and the rivalry may have faded, their impact on sports media landscape will long endure. I agree with that, because these two are, Smith and Bayless are legends in the media, sports media commentary space, and they will be that way for a long time. Skip, of course, is finding his way, I guess, and what I mean find his way, eventually he'll get on another show if you ask me, because he is talented while he is, very brash, if you will, if I'm using that term correctly. He will find another spot, I think, but we will see, of course, if he does, I will be here to cover, but you see what's going on here, right? Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe, their friendship is on the rocks at this moment, but hopefully they'll get it back on track, all right? And with that being said, thank you for attending another episode of Normieville. You know me, I'm just Normie, here to bring you the latest and greatest in sports news, entertainment, and politics. Let me know what you think about this fractured friendship down in the comment section. And please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and that notification bell on your way out of the door. And I will see you on the next video.